Hi, second grade, and welcome to today's lesson, Time to the Quarter Hour. We've talked about quarters before in money, and it's something you might see in fractions, but it's something we'll also see in time, and we're going to explore that today. But first, let's warm up our brain with the problem of the day. So the problem of the day goes kind of with what we've been learning about clocks and word problems. Brady looks at the clock. The hour hand points between 1 and 2. The minute hand points to the 6. Brady thinks the time is 2:30. Is Brady right or wrong? What time is it? Well, there's a few things we can break down in this question. First, let's underline important information. He looks at the clock. The hour hand points between 1 and 2. The minute hand points to the 6. Brady thinks the time is 2:30. So Brady thinks right now it's 2:30, so 2 o'clock is the hour, and if it's 2:30, then 30 minutes have passed and it's 2:30. So let's put that to the test. I pulled up a little clock here so we could experiment. I'm just going to move that to the 6 because he said the minute hand is on the 6, and it's between the 1 and the 2. Well, I see that Brady made a bit of a mistake because as we learned, that when the hour hand is between two numbers, it's on its way to the bigger one, but not quite there yet. So we're going to go with the smaller number, the number right before it. So we know if the minute hand is on the 6, we count by 5s until then. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So 30 minutes, and it is 1 o'clock. So it's actually 1:30. And Brady, unfortunately, is wrong. Poor Brady. But it happens, and that's why we check our work. So let's continue on to our Common Core Quick Check, which follows the finding a pattern strategy that we just learned. The Bobber family wants to take a train to the city. The train leaves the station every half hour. There's that important information we talk about. We need to be in the habit of underlining that. Otherwise, it gets lost in that big old paragraph, and it's hard to keep track of. So the train leaves every half hour. They just missed the 11 o'clock train. And then circle the question, what are the times for the next 3 trains? So we need to find the time for these 3 trains. Well, let's stick with what we know first. We know that they missed the 11 o'clock train first. So I'm going to put 11 o'clock actually over to the side because it's not on the schedule of trains they want next. Now, if the trains leave every 30 minutes, I'm going to, every time I go to the next line, we're going to add 30. So 11 becomes 11:30. Now, and we're not going to add 30 in it. The next one be 11:60. We don't want that. When you get to 60 minutes, remember 60 minutes is the same as 1 hour. So you go to the next hour. We add those on, so it becomes 12 o'clock. Then you add another 30 minutes, and it becomes 12:30. Did you get that one? It says, how can you read time to the quarter hour? I want to hear your strategies in the comments below. But until then, I'm going to show you one of my favorite ones. We were talking before about how when you're using the minute hand, so the big, long blue hand there, you don't count the numbers based on the whole number right there. You're counting in groups of 5. So this is saying it's one group of 5. So we'll start on the 1 here. One group of 5, 5. 2 groups of 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. And 60 brings us back to the top, which makes it a whole hour. So a clock has 60 minutes on it and 12 hours. When I tell time, I like to look at the minute hand first, but that's my personal strategy. You can do it an hour first if you'd like. But for here, I'm going to go around. I put the minutes on the outside so I can see if it's on the 9. It's really pointing to the 5's number, so 45. So I can see that I'm going to put my little dots there. 45. And for the hour, it's between the 11 and the 12. Remember, it's on its way to 12, not quite 12 yet. So it's still 11. It says, how can you read time to the quarter hour? Go, well, how does that mean it's a quarter? If you think about a fraction and splitting something into quarters, that means you're splitting it into 4 parts. Or why the coin quarter has its name is because you need 4 of them to make one. Oop, I made it all blue. You need 4 of them to make $1. So quarters are referring to 4 parts. Quarters referring to 4 parts. So on a clock, you can go through and let me get a new color. You can split it down the middle, so you have half an hour, or you could split it in fourths and have a quarter of an hour. It's like a pizza. We're going to practice this skill a little bit here with some clocks. We have some digital clocks that we need to match with the analog clock. Digital clocks we can read almost right away because the time is just right there. 2:15, 7:15, 12:45, 9:30. The bigger clocks take a little bit more effort in figuring out. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to read each clock and write the time next to it. I'm not even going to worry about the digital clocks yet. Similar strategy was before. I'm going to start with the minutes. Well, here's my minute hand, and I'll start at the 1, 5, 10, 15. So I know we have 15 minutes. And let's put our colon there. It's not liking me again. And our hour hand is between the 7 and the 8. It's on its way to 8 o'clock, which means it's 7. So we know this clock is 7:15. This clock, here's our minute hand, starting at 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So our minutes would be 45. The hour looks like it's between 12 and 1. And you can go, Miss McMahon, 12 is bigger than 1. But when we're looking at a clock for when it's in between the two numbers, it's going from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. It's where it kind of restarts. So don't let that trick you. If it's between the two numbers, because it's coming from 12, we're going to say it is 12:45. Let's count in 5s for the next one. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So we know we have 30 minutes on that one. And our hour is between 9 and 10, which means you go with the 9. It's coming from 9 on its way to 10, but not 10 yet. And finally, 5, 10, 15. And then we count our hours. It looks like it is, looks like it's exactly on the 2. Makes it easier for us to solve 2:15. So now I think we can more clearly match them. Perfect. We can investigate a problem together, and we're going to do this instead of the Explore page. The Explore page you can do at home. It wants you to cut out a clock and fold it into quarters, which I think is a really great activity for your brain. But for today, I'm going to work through this problem with you guys, and if you have another piece of paper to work on it at home, I encourage you to do that so you can get some practice. So here's this word problem, getting my highlighter ready. And here we go. A theater group puts on their first show at the time shown on the red analog clock. All right, here's their clock, the first show. I'm going to put that's when their first show is. They put on their second show 2 hours later. Ooh, that's important. Second show is 2 hours later. Draw the hands on the blue clock to represent the time of the second show. What time is the second show? Well, there's a few ways that we can solve this. First, let's start on the first show and read the clock and figure out what time it's telling us. Starting on the minutes, A quick way, instead of going back 5, 10, 15, counting by fives each one, is remembering those quarters we talked about. If you split the clock into 4 quarters, we know that we have 0, 15, 30, 45, and then brings us back up to 60. But if we know if the hand, when it's pointing to the side there, is always 45, it makes it easier for us to quickly tell time without having to start from the beginning and count each and every time. You can tell by just looking. So the first show is 45. It's a quarter until, that means we have one more quarter until the next hour. It's a quarter till, it looks like it's between 10 and 11. So that means you go with the smaller number. And it is 10:45. So now we know that the next show is 2 hours later. 2 hours plus 2. I'm going to put hours. Covered my problem. Which means we need to move that hour hand. Do we do anything with the minute hand? Nope. We leave him alone. Because we're leaving him alone, we can put it in the exact same spot, right there on the 45. And 2 hours past 10, so I'm going to put my mark on the 10 and count 2 jumps. 10, 11, 12. The new show looks like it's at 12:45. The second show is at 12:45. Like I said before, so we're going to look just a little bit at this without cutting out a clock or doing that piece. It wants us to mark a quarter of an hour. And we've been talking about that through our warm-up today. A quarter, as you see, it's already split up into 4 parts. A quarter means 1 quarter. So we're going to mark a quarter of the hour by putting a long hand here. And you can make whatever hour you want. I'm just going to keep it simple and put it on 12. But look, we have a quarter of an hour. If I put my hour hand on the 12, it is a quarter past. Is it a quarter past 5? No. A quarter past 3? No. It's a quarter past whatever our hour hand is on. A quarter past 12. Same as saying 12:15. Show time to the quarter hour. There are 15 minutes in a quarter hour. There are 4 quarters in an hour. So if we look at these clocks, we start off at 1 o'clock, and that is the first, just the whole hour. It's 1 o'clock. A quarter past 1 means we're moving past 1 to that first quarter, and that leaves us at 1:15. A half past 1, which means you have moved halfway around the clock. It's 1:30. And a quarter till 2 means you have 1 quarter left until you make it to the new time. So you've gone 3 quarters around the clock. 1:45. So make sure you're paying attention to past and till so you don't get switched up. Past means a quarter past that hour, so 15 minutes, and till means 45. Okay, we're going to do the first one together, and then I want to see all the great work you do on your own. On number 1, it looks like our hour hand is right there on the 15, so it's just starting into a new hour. So it's a quarter past the time. I'm going to put that 15 minutes down in my clock, and I'm going to go check my hour hand. See, this hour hand is almost exactly on the 11, and you're going to see that sometimes, and that's okay. It's not always going to be in between, but if it's exactly on the number, you can usually trust it. Especially if you're early on in the clock, it's still near the beginning, starting to slowly make its way to the new number. So I'd say that's 11:15. Make sure when you're checking the different quarters, you remember what each quarter represents. I believe in you guys, and you're going to do some great things. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.